So recently I reviewed the fresh new Xiaomi 13T Pro, marvellous bit of kit for just 649 quid. Liked it a lot, but for 100 quid less you can grab yourself the regular Xiaomi 13T. And this is a bit of a dark horse because it's practically the same phone, just cheaper. The Xiaomi 13T is premium through and through. You've once again got beefy Mediatek Dimensity performance, a massive battery with fast charging, a clever bollocks Leica camera setup that spats out some pretty gorgeous snaps, and all for under half the price of an iPhone 15 Pro Max. So let's give the Xiaomi 13T a thorough poke and a prod, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first up, what do you get in the box besides the Xiaomi 13T? Well, you got a thankfully not incredibly massive 67 watt adapter, obligatory USB cable, and Xiaomi has also kindly chucked in there a condom case so you can keep your 549 quid phone looking box fresh. And that's all the interesting stuff bunged in the Xiaomi 13T box, so now let's check out the phone. Now first up, unlike the older Xiaomi 13, the 13T isn't a more compact handset, it's still a 6.67 inch Godzilla, just like the Pro. In fact, good bloody luck telling the two apart. I'm just glad I put different wallpapers on, otherwise I'd already be confused. In fact, it also looks quite similar to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, just without the ridiculous floating turd up top. And the Xiaomi 13T is certainly proper hefty as well, although no worse than other massive modern blowers. And while the display is completely flat, the back end of the Xiaomi 13T does just slope neatly towards the edges. So you haven't got any awkward corners digging into your palms or anything. The hand feel is top notch. And flip the Xiaomi 13T around, and the only variant you can get here in the UK is this black model, which is a real shame because I absolutely ruddy adore this alpine blue version of the Xiaomi 13T Pro. You've got the vegan leather finish, which adds a nice bit of texture, good bit of grip, and it just makes the Xiaomi 13T Pro stand out a bit more. As for the Xiaomi 13T, well, it looks all slick and smart with its moody mirrored surface until it catches the light just so, and you realise it's an absolute muck magnet. Honestly, this thing's greasier than the average post-pub doner kebab. So yeah, inevitably you'll spend a lot of time buffing this thing up just trying to get all this filth off. But you know, that mirrored surface pretty handy for doing your makeup on the tube or just staring at your withering features and realising the best years of your life have passed you by and having a lovely wee anxiety attack. You've got Gorilla Glass 5 up front protecting that display. It's a shame it's not the more modern Victus 2, but I'm guessing that's just a little cost saving measure. Just regular glass around back, and it is just a plastic frame sadly, so again saving a little bit of money on the materials there. But you've got full IP68 water and dust resistance, which is fantastic to see. It's an extra bit of peace of mind if you want to catch up on some emails in a bubbly bath or whatever. So now let's get all sexy and talk about the software. What you got here is Android 13, hopefully soon to be upgraded to Android 14 with a good bit of MiUI slapped on top, version 14. And if you haven't used MiUI before, you haven't used it in a while, the good news is it's a much more familiar Android experience now, so you can drag down that notifications bar from anywhere. You've got your apps tray, which you can stick on there from setup. Got your Google Discover feed, etc. But then you've also got some nifty MiUI bonus bits slapped on top, like the control center. Very popular in Chinese phones these days, fast access to all of your toggles. You could also fully customize the Xiaomi 13, for instance, with a decent wee selection of always-on displays, some snazzy notification effects, and as always, a massive selection of wallpapers. And yes, geeky anime shenanigans very well represented. And there's some other brilliant bonus bits chucked into MiUI, including a very worthy gaming mode. More on that in a bit. What I'm not a fan of on Xiaomi smartphones is the sheer volume of crapware stuffed onto these things. You got lots of bollocks that you'll probably just want to get rid of straight away, including Booking.com, AliExpress, got all the Facebook shenanigans, etc, etc. At least the majority of this can just be got rid of straight away, no worries. And the really positive news is that Xiaomi is sucking a lot less when it comes to software support for its blows. So for instance, the Xiaomi 13T will enjoy 4 OS upgrades and 5 years of security support, which is as much as most of its rivals offer. So feasibly, you lay down 549 quid on the Xiaomi 13T and it could keep you going until 2028 if my maths isn't completely balls. I do sometimes literally forget what year we're in, which is, yeah. And it's the same security shenanigans here on the regular model as well. An in-display optical fingerprint sensor, which is absolutely fine. Quick to react, only really balks up when your thumb's all sticky or gooey. And as usual, good bit of face unlock action to back that up. And while some more expensive flagship phones like the iPhone 15 Pro come with only 128 gigs of storage in their base models, where you got 256 gigs as standard here on the Xiaomi 13T. Sadly not expandable via microSD memory card, of course. That feature is incredibly rare now outside of really budget blowers. And for this sort of price point, you've got a stunning display as well. It's basically the same screen that you've got slapped on that Xiaomi 13T Pro. And that 6.67-inch AMOLED beast boasting a 2712 by 1220 pixel resolution. That's 446 pixels per inch, maths fans. So those visuals, pin sharp, absolutely gorgeous stuff. You've got HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision streaming support, which is something you don't get on a lot of flagships, again, from the likes of Samsung, for instance. We very much shun that Dolby Vision. And the brightness typically hits 1200 nits here, but it can scale up to an eyeball-searing 2600 if needed. So even if it's a super sunny day and you're watching some murky Star Wars fare on Disney Plus, for instance, you should still be able to see what is going on. I am merely speculating, of course. I live in Britain, where the sun is very much buggered off for about another 8 months. And the refresh rate here on the Xiaomi 13T once again maxes out at 144 Hz. It's not LTPO tech or anything though. You can only manually flip it between 60 and 144 Hz, but it can automatically adjust the refresh based on what you're up to. And again, very much like that Pro model, the Xiaomi 13T sports a stereo speaker setup. So let's boost that volume, check it out. And some clever bollocks Leica optics. Woof! I don't know about you, but I've certainly got some trouser tent action on the go. And that's some pretty solid sound right there. Certainly when you boost the volume all the way up to that maximum levels, it gets pretty serious. It's not one of the loudest mid-ranges I've heard, but it certainly should cut through a good bit of background clamour. Clarity's still good. You got full Dolby Atmos support on here with various presets, including a dynamic option so it can tweak the audio on your behalf based on what you're up to. And you've got a graphic equalizer, so you can manually fiddle around with the bass, the treble, etc. to get it sounding exactly the way you like it. No headphone jack, but you do have up to Bluetooth 5.4 streaming support, so well and truly future-proofed, and certainly that wireless streaming seems to work a charm. Now the big difference between the Xiaomi 13T and that Pro model is the chipset which actually powers the thing. In this case it's a 4nm Mediatek Dimensity 8200 Ultra. My review model has 8 gigs of RAM and that has proven absolutely plenty. I'm yet to see any judders or proper performance issues when I'm multitasking or working with dozens of apps in the background. I tend to take benchmarking with a rather sizable pinch of salt, but as you can see there, the multi-core scores spaffed out by Geekbench 6 actually better here on the Xiaomi 13T compared with that Pro. So needless to say, the likes of Genshin Impact and other really memory-guzzling, demanding Android titles run with a perfect frame rate. Yeah, so once again, pumped up the graphics settings so they were on the highest possible level here on the Xiaomi 13T. There were 1 or 2 tiny little noticeable dips in the frame rate, but this was over a full 1 hour gaming period. And the good news is that there was no noticeable throttling or anything. Xiaomi has crammed a proper vapor chamber bit of cooling tech into this thing. And it certainly didn't feel very warm to the touch, even after lots of intense action where I mostly just wandered around wondering what the f I was supposed to be doing. And oh yes, the Xiaomi's excellent gamers mode flicked out like so. This offers performance boosters, do not disturb tools. You can record the action, all the usual shenanigans that you would expect, and you can even change your voice to that of a girl for reasons which I'm sure wouldn't be creepy or weird. No boy option on there, although to be fair, all of these basically just make you sound like a chipmunk. So yeah, this thing's just as beefy as many super expensive flagship blowers. And when it comes to the battery, no changes there with the Pro. It's once again a 5000 mAh capacity cell crammed inside of that glass and plastic chassis. And the fact that that's a bit of a whopper, combined with the fact that Mediatek's Dimensity chipsets tend to be quite energy efficient, means that you'll get all day play out of the 13T, no worries. Certainly in the time that I've spent with it, it's taken a solid 7 to 8 hours of full-on screen on time with, lots of camera play, video streaming, audio streaming, all that good stuff before it's finally died. However, one difference compared with the Pro is the fact you've only got 67 watt wired charging here as opposed to 120 watt. But you know what, that once again beats the bollocks off of most other flagship smartphones, and it means you don't have to worry about charging the 13T overnight. You can just plug it in the morning when you get up before you go for a shave, and a shower, and by the time you get back, chances are, even if it's not completely full, it'll be most of the way there. Sadly, however, no wireless charging support on this bad boy, which is a bit of a shame. It is a feature that you do find on some mid-ranges around this sort of price point. Hopefully won't be a deal breaker for many though. And last up, the camera tech, and once again this hasn't really changed up between the 13T and that Pro model. Got a hot bit of Leica Vario-Summicron action, however that's pronounced. The 24mm sensor is a 50 megapixel shooter with optical image stabilization built in. Yeah, exact same camera app and camera features, so once again you can drag out all of the different toggles like so. Plenty of stuff to play around with here, including the motion track and focus if you're trying to shoot a cat, a kid, something that won't sit still. And also the Leica style feature as well, so you can swap between vibrant, which really boosts the colors, gives you a more Samsung-y style effect. Otherwise you can go with Leica authentic if you want a more natural looking image. I tend to stick with the authentic mode because I just love the realistic, natural looking pictures that this thing spaffs out. Lovely bit of texture, proper gorgeous shading. None of the boosted HDR that you'll get with the likes of an iPhone or a Samsung. Unfortunately, clarity does take a bit of a hit in indoor situations. Some of my pics do come out a bit noisy at times, but the dedicated night mode really helps to brighten and sharpen things up when needed. You've also got yourself a respectable ultra-wide angle shooter, which doesn't bulk up the tones or anything when you switch to it. You've also got yourself a 50 megapixel telephoto shooter. It's a 50mm effort. Again, not as accomplished as some flagship smartphones, but it certainly is perfect for getting a gorgeous portrait shot or just getting a little bit closer to the action. But anyway, if you want a much closer look at what the Xiaomi 13T shooters are capable of, we'll definitely check out my Pro review because it's the same hardware, it's the same software. You get the same bloody pics out of it. And you've also got the same camera modes to play around with here, including of course the portrait mode and the night mode. If you dive on into more, you've got a small selection of other bits, including a 50 megapixel high-res mode. And you do have yourself a dedicated Pro mode once again as well, where once again you can swap between the Leica authentic and vibrant modes. And you've also got fast access tone, tonality and texture settings, which are quite handy if you can't be asked to fanny around with the likes of the shutter speed, the white balance, etc. It allows you to get a very specific kind of shot to match pretty much any kind of lighting conditions. When it comes to the video, there is a small difference between the 13T and the Pro in that you can't shoot 8K resolution video here. It does max out at 4K, but apart from that, the results are very similar indeed. Audio comes through cleanly, the stabilization's not bad as well, just, tread lightly if you are moving and shooting at the same time. And hey, shock surprise, you've got the same 20 megapixel selfie camera here on the 13T. And once again, this copes well with bright backgrounds or fairly low light conditions, skin tones reasonably accurately captured, and the portrait mode works a charm. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a tasty wee nutshell is the fresh new Xiaomi 13T mid-range mobile. And I've got to say, for just over 500 quid, it's a bit of a frickin' bargain. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that this thing is better than the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Certainly in the time I've spent with the pair of them, it's the one that's pissed me off the least. It's powerful enough to play any games out there. The battery life is better than the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I prefer the camera results with that Leica authentic mode. That gorgeous screen, certainly a match for the iPhone 15 Pro Max. In fact, better because it doesn't have that stupid turdy thing up top. You can still stream HDR10 and Dolby Vision content. Now, the telephoto camera is not quite as good, and of course you've got the mucky arse to contend with, but apart from that, I bloody love this thing. And now you've got the dedicated software support as well, so I'd say as long as you're not trapped inside of that Apple ecosystem, I'd definitely recommend this thing over at any day of the week. Anyway, that's what this tired old hack reckons, but what do you guys think? It'd be great to hear your thoughts on the Xiaomi 13T down in the comments below. Please do, subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a really wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you!